I'm going to take my moss like this and I am going to turn it over. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wood letter and cut out an amount that would go, would cover this. And this is kind of a messy project. This moss does tend to shed. And I'll give you some tips later how to keep it from shedding. And what I'm going to do is I want to turn this so that it is backwards on here. I'm going to take my hot glue and put it all over the front of, put a generous amount like so, and then put it right down on your moss and press down. And now I'm going to take and cut little slits here on the corner. I can cut that off and save these pieces. You never know when you might need just a little bit to cover a spot. But we're going to go and cut this every 1/2 to 3/4 inches around our letter. And keep cutting all the way around, and then we're going to go on and glue these. So what we're going to do now is just take our hot glue gun and we're going to put the glue right here and fold those pieces over just like that. And they may overlap in places where you have curves, but that's okay. Just in that case, put it on the moss backing. I'm going to come back and do this piece after I've done more of these. Anywhere that there's a little corner like that, see? Because you want to make sure that you get it down. So I'm going to keep going all the way around here and show you what we have when we're finished. And here we have our first letter. Should look something like this on the back. And we have nice mossy letter on the front. I told you I was going to give you a tip on what to do to keep the moss from shedding, and you're just going to take some inexpensive hairspray, give your letters all a nice heavy spray, and now I'm going to take them letter at a time. I have my glue gun, and I'm going to add some of these butterflies. I don't want to get the hot glue on their wings because it's a very thin plastic. They may melt, so I'm going to put it on their body, which is a little heavier duty plastic. And I'm just going to add these wherever I feel like it. Maybe a pink one right here. I don't want to cover up the letters too much because I want you to be able to see. So I'm just going to put those two on my S. Now I have it pretty easy on my front door because I have this section running right down the middle, so I know where the middle is. Way up here I have part of a command hook that I hang wreaths on, but we're going to start there, and I'm going to go and pull that paper right off of there. So that's my command on the back of my S, and I'm going to start with it covering up. Next is my P, and I'm going to attach it right to my door knocker. Probably a little closer together than I would prefer, but that's where that one's going. Just press those tight against your door. Now it doesn't just look like spring, it actually says spring. So I hope you like that idea. Measure your front door to make sure you get letters that will fit. You can see these are not that big and they fill the whole door. So I hope you like this project and it puts you in the mood for spring.
The first step I'm going to do is give that watering can a quick spray of white spray paint. And the reason I did that was because it was just a thrifted find and I didn't really care for the color. So fix that right up. While that's drying, we're going to move on to the wood round. And we're going to use some chocolate brown chalk paint. I'm actually using the Dixie Belle brand, so it's the color chocolate. And I just put it on a paper plate. This is one of my favorite techniques, to use chalk paint and water it down. So that was water that I misted into the plate there. And it creates a stain. So you can essentially make a stain any color you want. And you just paint it on like paint. Because you've watered it down, then it wipes away easily. So see that beautiful wood grain come through there. I'm going to do the whole thing. Give it a good wipe down. I'm going to actually go ahead and do the edges as well. And then we're going to let that dry for just a few minutes. And then I'm going to use a water-based top coat sealer called Gator Hide by Dixie Belle. And I'm just going to seal my wood circle. And that gives it a really pretty sheen and will protect it where we're going to use this piece. Set that to the side. Now I'm going to take that watering can and drill a little hole. And then I'm also going to grab some hot glue because I'm going to adhere this watering can onto the wood circle. And that hot glue is going to kind of help hold it in place and angle it the way I want. But then I'm going to put a little screw into that hole that we drilled and get it attached to that wood round circle really nicely. Next, it's time to pull out the beautiful flowers. So I just have a variety of flowers. I decided to go multicolor here, and I'm just going to kind of start snipping off little pieces of these flowers, laying them all out the way I want. I'm imagining them kind of either pouring out or being watered out of this watering can. And so I'm just going to have fun kind of laying these all out before I glue them down. Now, one little last touch there. So now I think I have it the way I want. Now it's time to grab the hot glue and start adhering that. And one thing that I did decide, because I had all these different flowers, I focused on each kind of flower and got those glued. So I started with the peonies, and then I went on to each kind of different flower, making sure they were all secure. So fast forward there, and I've got everything glued down. I'm just double checking that everything's in place, and it's good to go. The next step is I cut a little vinyl decal that says Fresh Flower Market on my silhouette machine, and I'm just going to adhere it to the side of that watering can because I think it needed a little something. And that's just black permanent vinyl. So got that put on there. Now it's time to make a bow. This is one of my favorite bow styles. It's so super simple. I decided I wanted an 8-inch bow, so I just measured out an 8-inch piece of ribbon and used that as a measuring stick for all the different kind of ribbons I'm going to use. I'm going to get all those strips cut. I'm going to do 2 of each of all the different patterns that I'm using. And then what you're going to do is you're going to grab your first starter piece and you're going to hold it in your hand. And then you're just going to crisscross back and forth with the different designs. And so I use, if you see here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I believe 5 different kinds of ribbon. Yes. And so I'm just going to go back and forth until I've used 1 of each. And then I'll do the same thing using up all the ribbon. So I have a nice fluffy bow. I'm also working in some raffia in between there. Give it a little extra movement and texture. All right, so now I have 1 of everything in place, and now I'll put all the other in place as well. So grab a little jute string, flip it upside down, and give it a nice little tie. And then if you do make this kind of bow, one of the big secrets is giving it a nice little fluff and twist and kind of get it to be a little bit more poofy. All right, next I'm going to kind of get it in place here and just take a light duty stapler and pop a couple staples in there where I want it. And that should hold nicely. And then I'm going to take and incorporate some of that raffia that I used in that beautiful bow. And I'm just tying a simple shoestring bow on the handle of this watering can. I thought it added a really nice touch. And I think that we are finished and we have made a beautiful door decor piece. This also could be used inside, but it would be really beautiful on a front door. And so I'm just going to snip this up here and give you a final look at it. Now, as you're looking at the final shot, I ended up taking some white chalk paint and a palette knife and giving a nice little border around the edge of the circle. I also ended up putting a big plain burlap bow as a base on the decorative bow just to kind of give it a little extra oomph. And with those couple of additions, I think it turned out beautifully. I hope you enjoyed seeing it come together. Again, I'm Summer Hammonds with hammondsnest.com. Thanks for watching me on Home Talk.